anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon. Tuesday afternoon here for the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central, from the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That will get you into the studio for two-way talk and conversation today, behind the glass, flying the board. Thank you, Ted. Got back here in time for the show. I was down visiting the Carr brothers as part of my morning, loop around to Blackstone Valley, Jeannie Hibbert, and then over to the Carr brothers, Mike and Mark, which they'll be here on Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I don't know where that came from. Friday at 1 o'clock. And they were actually, Ted, I got them. They were on their way out delivering a bunch of toys for the Toys for Tots type of thing.
Yeah, so they're very involved in the community.
Absolutely. So they had their customers dropping off toys. They were going to make a stop at Job Lot or somewhere and help Santa along the way with some more gifts. So good luck to Mike and Mark here. Carr Brothers, they're here every Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock for the Carr Brothers. Great show. We got a lot to talk about. Don't forget, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. You can also text us at our text line, which is 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. I am streaming on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, Mangi, Joe Mangi Show. And you can do that on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile. But you can also now watch it on WCRN's Facebook page and YouTube channel, for that matter. So go to Facebook, and if you haven't gone to look at the new Facebook page for WCRN 830 AM, please do that. Do me a favor, hit the like and follow button there so we know you're there. Same as if you go to the TuneIn app, where we, with thousands of other radio stations, stream our signal 24/7. So if you don't have it, seconds to download it, punch in WCRN. You're going to see our cool new logo. Yes, we have a new logo, the Radio Central logo. Do me a favor, hit the like button so we know you're there, and then we're very easy to find, and you can take us anywhere. I think half the time I listen to the terrestrial 8:30 AM signal, and the rest of the time I'm streaming it on my phone, on my device. Absolutely. All right, 508-871-7000. We got a lot to talk about. I got to tell you this impromptu, and it seemed like it wasn't really planned. I think Donald Trump was planning to announce this investment by SoftBank yesterday, and it turned into kind of a presser. And like I said, I don't think it was planned. He ended up taking questions and so forth, and it just further illustrates that our actual president, who is flying to Rehoboth tomorrow, I guess, middle of the week, who spent 40% of his time on vacation, he seems to have just faded off. It's like Homer Simpson backing into the hedges. He's just not being presidential. He's not there. He did a fraction of the number of pressers Donald Trump did in his first term. And if you just look around the world, you see the de facto president for now. It's not Kamala Harris. It's Donald Trump. And just him being elected as president-elect has rippled through the world. And Governor Trudeau, by the way, he took a shot at America. Donald Trump, first of all, when Trudeau said, hey, we can't survive without the $100 billion, that we make off of America. And Trump, that was beautiful. If you can't survive without, ripping off America, maybe you should become our 51st state. Absolutely. And then trolled him either further by posting and referring to him as Governor Trudeau. And then now and I'm telling you, folks, if you haven't figured this out, I'm telling you, don't get into it with Donald Trump when it comes to these words of war of words, nicknames and stuff. He's going to get you every time. And he tried, absolutely. And they're getting on the Trump train. We're going to talk about that and how all these high-tech CEOs are coming around. But he comes after America, not Trump, but he insults America because we didn't elect Kamala Harris. The second time we didn't take the opportunity to elect a female. That just shows you the scope of his pea brain there, because he's thinking in those terms. The fact that she was a horrible candidate, the fact that she was a completely ineffective vice president, and I've said this before, folks, the shame of this is the same reasons that she was appointed and was asked to run on that ticket are the same exact reasons that she could have been the most effective and powerful vice president since Cheney. Because the fact that she was a woman and she is a woman of color, she could do things that normal vice presidents couldn't get away with. And she didn't use that power. She didn't leverage that. She was completely useless as a vice president. And the tasks that were specifically given to her, like borders are, went unanswered. She was ineffective, feckless, if you will. And she just simply blew that opportunity. And now he takes a shot at you, the citizens of America, for twice not electing a female, not putting any consideration whatsoever into the fact that both of them were horrible candidates. And both of them would have been horrible presidents. And all it illustrates, Governor Trudeau, is that American people are smarter than you're giving them credit for. And we understood it would be a horrible decision to make either one of those women president of the United States. So I want to circle back to this SoftBank's $100 billion investment in U.S. technology. Now, it's led by CEO Masayoshi Son. Now, he announced the $100 billion investment in U.S. technology projects over the next 4 years, focusing on artificial intelligence and related infrastructure. This initiative is expected to create about $100,000 jobs. $100,000 just wants to roll right off there. 100,000 jobs in the U.S. And the announcement was made jointly with President-elect Donald Trump at a press conference in Florida. And Trump encouraged Son to consider increasing the investment to $200 billion. But he did that on the podium, in front of the cameras, in front of the reporters, and the art of the deal came to life. This just prompted little Son to laugh and turn around and look at him and say, I will try to make that happen, and shook Trump's hand. You saw Trump back a guy in to doubling $100 billion investment on the spot. And don't think that Trump won't come back to him and say, hey, we've got it on camera, man. You said you were going to try to do 200. It's amazing. I was having this conversation with some of the people at the Blackstone Chamber of Commerce this morning about the business climate, the fact that what will happen if Trump gets the corporate rate down to 15% if you're based in the United States. The amount of business that will come back into our country will be phenomenal. So this press conference to announce this $100 billion turned to $200 billion and then turned into a basic full-on president-elect presser. And the announcement was made between these two, but he pulled that on him. And Son said he would contemplate it. He would try. And this marks the second major investment collaboration between Trump and Son, following a $50 billion investment agreement. It was made back in 2016, and that promised 50,000 new jobs. So now it's a 45 deal, and now it's a 47 deal. 47's making a deal. Hey, Ted, did you get to see that, first of all? Did you watch that or get to see clips of it? It was funny.
It was amazing. The thing that really got to me is it's back to the old days. He turned to the audience and said, yeah, I'll take some questions. And an hour later, he was still taking questions.
Yeah. In the media, they've got to get their running shoes out of the closet. They got to fill up in the carbs, because for real, I know we were told we were told under the Biden administration that Joe was running circles around interns a third of his age, doing backflips and handstands and multitasking and solving the world's problems behind closed doors. There was just some magical thing that when a camera is on him, he became Sleepy Old Joe. It's like one of those aliens from Doctor Who. As soon as you turn around, you forget that you saw them. It's just, it's crazy. But now you have a president that will be generally hard to keep up with. This is a guy that barely sleeps. He revs up at 7 o'clock at night. Joe Biden is going to bed, or he's been asleep for an hour by 7. Donald Trump is just gearing up. He's getting dressed to go downstairs to the ballroom as he has executives and CEOs from C-suite lined up outside Mar-a-Lago. Friends of mine who live down that way or have houses down there, something. Now you go over there in the traffic. You've got the security issues, of course, now as president-elect. It's even more so than as ex-president or candidate Trump. Now that it's for all intents and purposes President Trump. So all the cars are being checked. The parking lot is filled. The real estate, this is funny. The real estate around Mar-a-Lago has jacked up because you've got executives, including Elon Musk, who, by the way, has taken a villa at Mar-a-Lago, is looking for property in the $20-30 million range. You've got other executives who have bought there's a $15 million home a couple doors down that was just bought, and the $40 million penthouse suites at right across the bay there, the water, I should say, the waterway. There's an unknown executive paid $100 million for the top floors, and so you can look at Mar-a-Lago, and is what's going on, folks. And the tech industry response to Trump's election, we'll talk about that on the other side of the break. But we do have to take our first break here on the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, reminding you that you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Text line is 617-297-8388. I am streaming from our palatial but not overly ostentatious studios in Westborough, Massachusetts, high atop the Carberry Towers. So if you want to take a look into our studio, you see the big new logo behind me. Welcome to do that. My Facebook page or the stations, Joe Mangi Show. Check it out. See you online here, folks. We're going to take a break, but we'll be back in 2 in 10. Stick with us.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org.
Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org, because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks. So welcome back to the second segment of the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show right here at AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, we stream 24/7 in the TuneIn app, as well thousands of other radio stations do. And you can always listen and watch my show on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, MANGI, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, or on WCRN's Facebook page as well. Go check it out. Join us. I see a couple of streamers already watching. Why don't you be one of them? 508-871-7000. So what's interesting is as President-elect Donald Trump prepares for this second term, and I'm going to say it again. I said this back at the election. I think in the bigger picture, from the 30,000-foot view, I think it's better that he actually lost the second term or the second attempt, had the 4-year break, and coming back for a second term 4 years later, 8 years after his first term that he won, because we got a good contrast. We really saw where the country was headed and what those policies were going to do. It woke so many people up, and it showed the level of deceit and lying that we were being subjected to. And I think if we did a seamless transition into a second Trump term, we would still have millions of people who don't get it or don't get it, wouldn't have gotten it. But when we see that we had an administration that lied to us about everything from the Afghanistan withdrawal to the economy is doing fine, to inflation isn't happening, to crime is under control, to everything that they've lied about. And it gave Donald Trump his first term. He learned a lifetime of politics in those 4 years. In the whole atmosphere is there. He said it the other day. He said, this time going in, the first time, nobody, like, they fought me and everything. This time, everybody wants to be my friend. Everybody's reaching out. Maybe my personality changed. No, it didn't. He hasn't changed in 40 years. You can go look at old tapes of him in the early 2000s, the 90s, and what he was saying then is exactly what he was saying now about the unfairness that America is getting, the way we get treated on tariffs and the deals that we make. You can't believe people in the government struck these deals because they aren't business people. So as President-elect Trump prepares for this second term, there is this notable shift in the tech industry's approach towards his administration. And tech giants such as Apple, Meta, Google, Amazon have pledged substantial donations to his inauguration. And many executives are meeting with him at Mar-a-Lago. So you go to Mar-a-Lago, you kiss the ring, you have the dinner, you leave $1 million check for the inauguration. That's the way that's shaping up. And this marks a significant change from the previously uneasy relationship between big tech and Trump's administration, indicating a broader acceptance and strategic alliance across different sectors. Because look at Mark Zuckerberg. In 2020, he spent $450 million in those Zuckerbucks to unseat Donald Trump. And then even he had a post after the first assassination attempt where he actually got shot. He said, what a badass Trump is. Every single billionaire or C-suite executive that has any common sense understands. They were quietly saying back in the day that, his policies are pretty good for us. He wants to lighten up the regulations. He wants to make it really good to do a business in America. Now they're saying it out loud. The only idiots out there are people like Mark Cuban, who still is clueless and doesn't get it. I never got that guy. He's my least favorite shark, by the way. So I do like Barbara, what's her name? Barbara, the real estate woman. Cochran, Barbara Cochran. I like her. But I like Mr. Wonderful. He's a Boston guy, Canadian, but he raised his family, I think, Marlborough Street in Boston. And then we've got Joe Biden with these pardons, and they're causing a lot of trouble, right? You've got the one in Pennsylvania, who had the cash for kids, not cash for cars. This was a judge who got over $2 million kickback by sentencing children, teenagers, youth to detention centers because he was getting a piece of the money because they were private companies. He ruined many, many young men's lives to the end result, multiple suicides. You put a 14 or 15-year-old kid who one kid got sentenced because he attended a party. He attended a party where there was underage drinking. He wasn't drinking per se. He didn't bring alcohol. He just attended the party. In this piece, POS, and it sentenced him to juvenile detention, ruined the kid's life, ruined the family. He did commit suicide. Shapiro came out, said Joe Biden got this wrong. But you see Gavin Newsom, you see Shapiro, you see all these guys are starting to, on the Democratic side, they're starting to jockey in position for 2028. And the number one thing you do is you throw Joe Biden under the bus. Get rid of him. Blame it all on him. And now Kamala Harris is telling her people keep my options open because maybe you run in 2028, which would be a massive waste of money, or governorship, run for the governor of California.
What?
Look, this woman spent $2 billion in weeks, has left millions of dollars in debt. Who is going to invest any more money into her? She is feckless. She's useless as a vice president, should be horrible as a president, my opinion. And I mean, maybe for California, she's on par. I mean, could she be that worse than Gavin? I don't know. I mean, look at what they're dealing with. I mean, they have the largest exodus in any other state. First time in the history of California, more people moved out of California under Gavin Newsom's last term than moved into California. California is naturally a beautiful state. Mountains, oceans, beautiful state. Has all of this wonderful natural resources, and that's why people have been flocking there. Not just the gold rush, but because of California itself. And this guy has driven out its population, mostly its middle class. So we have another guy, Markham David Bond, a convicted bank robber who was granted compassionate release in 2022 after serving 26 years, has been found guilty of committing a similar crime. Bond was apprehended on the 22nd of November last year after robbing a Brinks courier at gunpoint for $145,000 in cash. And in August of 23, evidence such cash from the robbery, a firearm, and a Brinks bag was found in Bond's residence in a getaway car. Now, despite his early release, Bond returned to a life of crime and now faces a statutory maximum life sentence. His sentencing date is set for July 11th of 2025. No, who decided this? It's Joe Biden's not sitting at the Resolute desk till 11 o'clock at night going through prison files and parole board reviews, right? Or reading dockets. So who put this list together? Who's deciding this? I mean, probably the same people who is selling the border wall off a nickel on the dollar. And Trump hit that yesterday. And he's you can tell he's pretty pissed about that. Think about this. You should be pretty pissed about this too, folks. Because hundreds of millions of dollars were spent on this material. And then Biden stopped the wall, sold a lot of it off back in the beginning of his term. Now he seems like whoever's in there controlling this is trying to get it out the door and sold for pennies on the dollar. Some of it has been taken by Texas and Arizona, Border Patrol. Other states have grabbed some of this. And what I find interesting, because if you ever want to know what the Democratic talking points are going to be, like what the official spin is, the line that they're going to come up with, just watch The Five when Jessica Tardiff's on there. Because she always has whatever it is, how they're trying to spin it. And thank goodness you got people like Judge Janine and Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters or whatever, or Dana Perino, to roll their eyes at her. And when they brought up the border wall, she tried to convince us that it wasn't worth anything. It's been out in the desert rotting. Well, think about that. Really just apply a little common sense. So you're saying the walls that was put up, the 547 feet that he built or replaced in a fallen down piece of string, basically, is that also rotted? Is that gone? The only difference is these sections were just laying on their side instead of being vertical. So that's just a crock. That's a spin. They're perfectly fine. And the walls are steel, hollowed out steel with concrete cement poured in the center. And they're very difficult to remove once you actually bury them into the ground. And they have conduits for sensors and so forth. So not only does it go deep into the ground so you can't dig under the fence, but then they're also equipped with all kinds of infrared sensors and so forth, so that Border Patrol, if somebody touches the fence or even comes near the ground of the fence, it signals the nearest CBP office, and they know there's activity at the fence. So they're not, Jessica, I'm sorry. Thank you for trying to spin it, but you're just wrong. You're full of it. They're perfectly fine. They've just been sitting in the desert, just like the wall that you put up. So you saying that we got to replace all the wall that's put, it's just so stupid to say something like that when it's just common sense dictates it's not true. So now Trump he knows they're going to build this wall, and now we are going to have to spend millions, if not $1 billion of your taxpayer money again, because the people around Joe Biden are being petty in getting rid of this stuff, so that they're going to try. So they're going to know Trump is absolutely going to buy it again, right? Spend it. And what they're going to do, they're waiting for that, and then they're going to try to spin it and say, look at all this money he's wasted on the wall, hoping and assuming and counting on the fact that you forgot that, yeah, he did buy it. And the reason he has to rebuy it is because of what you did. You gave it away for pennies on the dollar to try to slow it down or to stop it. You, Joe Biden administration et al., you are costing the taxpayers millions of dollars wasted. Folks, we got to take our mid-show break here on the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. So we will do that. Come back on the other side. Lines are open and available at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Join us on Facebook or X at Joe Mangi Show, MANGI, or Facebook. Come on in. Plenty of people are streaming. Join us. We'll be back in 2 and 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. Partly sunny and warm today. High temperatures will make it into the 50s. Overnight tonight, we're going to keep it clear with lows dipping back into the 30s, and that's how you wake up tomorrow morning. But tomorrow afternoon is going to be decent. We'll keep it dry through daylight hours with high temperatures around 49 or 50. And then at night, we've got rain and some mountain snow expected. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live from Morning Drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. I'm broadcasting from the WCRN studios today. You can see that if you join us via streaming on Joe Mangi Show, MANGI, Facebook, Twitter, X, I guess, Twitch, LinkedIn profile, or WCRN's Facebook page as well. So Trump is back, this time without disdain, as his domestic critics have gotten in line, so the world has saluted his restoration, if reluctantly, though. Because back in December of 2016, President-elect Donald Trump convened a meeting at Trump Tower with the lead. You notice it's all shifted to Mar-a-Lago now, but back then, everything, it was at Trump Tower. And then he decided to become a Florida resident officially. So at Trump Tower, leaders of America's largest technology companies, right, including Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Tim Cook of Apple, Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook, Satya Nadella of Microsoft, Elon Musk of Tesla, back then when he was a Democrat, and top executives from Google. The atmosphere was cordial, with Trump expressing admiration for the tech leaders, stating there's no one like you in the world. However, many of these executives had previously expressed skepticism or opposition towards Trump's candidacy, creating a dynamic where the president-elect appeared eager to gain their approval. Now you fast forward to December 2024, and the relationship between Trump and the tech industry has notably transformed, right? Elon Musk has become a close ally. He's basically living in Mar-a-Lago, and other tech leaders are actively engaging with the president-elect. For instance, Tim Cook was recently seen dining with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Mark Zuckerberg donated $1 million to the inaugural budget. Jeff Bezos, who previously maintained a cautious distance, expressed optimism about the new administration, stating that, "I'm very hopeful about the presidency." Now, these actions indicate a shift from initial skepticism to more collaborative stance as leaders speak to, or rather seek here to align with the incoming administration. And like I said, they're ponying up for the inauguration as well. And they're not, that whole attitude. So you've got Trump coming in to his second term with the 4-year break, with the wind at his back, no question about it. And this evolution reflects a broader change in the political landscape. In 2016, Trump's election was met with a mix of loathing, fear, disdain, both domestically and internationally. Some of these same jamokes were meeting with their C-suite back at the time, talking about safe spaces and mental health days because Trump got elected. Now, by 2024, while some of these sentiments may persist, the disdain has diminished. It's replaced by a recognition of Trump's restored influence. Internationally, events such as the reopening of the Cathedral at Notre Dame in Paris, right? We've seen foreign leaders acknowledging Trump's return with a respect that contrasts sharply with the reactions 8 years prior. In the current global political climate, presents the new administration with significant opportunities. The fall of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, achieved through decisive actions by Israel, aligns with Trump's strategic approach, contrasts with the policies of his predecessor. Additionally, political upheavals in Europe, including the collapse of the French government and instability in Germany, suggest that a shift toward the nationalist and populist movements that Trump has championed. Efforts to resolve conflicts in Ukraine have gained momentum, influenced by the anticipation of new U.S. administration policies. Right, not to mention a tweet about releasing our hostages by Inauguration Day, or they'll be held to pay. Take that however you want to. Domestically, Trump's position is strengthened by a more unified Republican Party. Even Mitt Romney said, this is the MAGA party. This is the party of Donald Trump, as he's on the way out the door, by the way. And Democratic Party is in disarray, right? The tech industry's engagement with the president-elect exemplified by significant investments such as SoftBank's $100 billion, now it looks like $200 billion, to the U.S. technology projects, underscores the business community's recognition of the administration's potential impact on the economy, innovation. It's happening. And I'm telling you that if this corporate tax is dropped to 15%, if you're based in the United States, there'll be a floodgate of corporations moving their headquarters and factories to U.S. soil. So basically, the transition from 2016 to 2014 illustrates a significant shift in both domestic and international perceptions of Donald Trump. The initial disdain has given way to a more pragmatic acknowledgement of his influence and the opportunities that his administration they present. And as the new term begins, the administration is poised to leverage this transformed landscape to implement policies that could reshape both national and global affairs. So this is Trump's second term with that break in between, which I really think in the big picture was better than 2 consecutive terms. We had to suffer through those 4 years. We had to, for those that didn't have your eyes open, we needed to slap you upside the head. You needed to feel the pain. You needed to finally have to say, I see it now. I get it. And you saw the Democrats push people like RFK Jr. out, Joe Rogan out, and then the stupidity of the no self-awareness when they sit there and say, we need our own Joe Rogan. You had him. Your policies and lack of common sense drove the man to call you out. And what's it, Van Jones? I don't go look for him, but I saw the clip of him on some podcast talking about how stupid Democrats look. That Donald Trump is smarter than him. He said this. Donald Trump is smarter than, this is Van Jones, smarter than me, smarter than all these Democrats, smarter than we all are, because he's the most powerful man in the world right now. And he's got the House, he's got the Senate, he's got the Oval, he's got the popular vote, he's got the electoral. It's a landslide, it's a mandate, and everybody is seeing it now. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Now, I do want to touch on this because, look, James O'Keefe, he does incredible work. You all know who I'm talking about. He does the hidden cameras, the undercover stuff. He's done it on abortion clinics. He's done it with staff, cabinet members, staff members, right? We got that thing with the kid last week. Talking about how they're throwing the gold bars off the Titanic, trying to get all the money out the door before Trump comes in to these NGOs, non-government organizations. They're trying to just get rid of all the money so they can't take it back. And of course, the Trump administration will do everything it can to claw it all back. But now O'Keefe has released some shocking video of an NSC advisor admitting that Biden is far worse off than we know. Now, most of us have been saying, because although we might not be neurologists or doctors that examine this and are qualified to evaluate them through the TV or what have you, we all could see. And again, I still am convinced that they purposely had the earliest presidential debate in the history of presidential debates to make sure that Joe Biden got out there, and they agreed to no teleprompter, no notes, to stand, not sit down, no audience, all the things, so that Joe Biden would be out there on his own with no safety net, and there'd be no denying his condition, so they could switch him out. I'm convinced that's what they did. They knowingly did that. But Biden's cognitive health in an undercover video released by James O'Keefe, features National Security Council advisor Henry Apple candidly discussing the president's mental state. Apple asserts that Biden is like dead, his quote unquote like dead, elaborating that the president, quote, can't say a sentence, unquote, and struggles with comprehension during critical decisions. Now, Apple recounts an incident where Biden misunderstood the term novel phenomenon, questioning if it referred to a book. He also describes a phone call in which the president repeatedly inquired about the whereabouts of NSC advisor Jake Sullivan, despite Sullivan traveling with him at the time. He didn't even remember that he's with him on the trip. This account aligns with previous reports highlighting Biden's cognitive challenges. All right, back in June, the New York Post reported that both Republican and Democratic lawmakers observed the president's reliance on cheat sheets. Well, we got caught on camera. How many times did we see the cheat sheet in his pocket? He was holding it with actual pictures of reporters and their name and the question to ask. So that he had the cheat sheets during these meetings too, not just in the pressers, but he'd go into the meetings with somebody putting these together so that he could make it through the meeting. And his tendency to close his eyes for extended periods, raising a lot of concerns about his attentiveness, obviously. And further, a Wall Street Journal article from 2024 detailed instances where Biden appeared confused during policy discussions, prompting doubts about his capacity to effectively serve another term. After all, we were told repeatedly that he was the transitional president and was going to hand it off to the next generation. But the implications of cognitively impaired individual holding the highest office are profound, folks. The president's role demands sharp mental acuity to navigate complex domestic and international issues. A decline in cognitive function not only hampers decision-making, but it also poses a risk to national security and undermines public confidence in leadership. Duh. Folks, we have to take our third and final break here on the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. Also join us on social media, Joe Mangi Show, to watch and listen. Back in 2 in 10, folks.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Those things we most cherish are all put at risk through the improper disposal of mercury in everyday items. Fluorescent lamps, thermometers, thermostats all contain mercury. Mercury Recovery Program is designed to assist your community in the safe disposal of this heavy metal. For more information about where to dispose of these products, contact your local Board of Health, Department of Public Works, or visit our website at keepmercuryfromrising.org. Working together, we can keep our environment safe.
Attention all contractors. The Massachusetts Mercury Management Act makes it illegal to improperly dispose of old thermostats in the trash. They contain mercury that can be harmful to human health and the environment. Building and HVAC contractors, plumbers, and electricians, please properly dispose of all mercury thermostats. Contact your local health or public works department for information on where to safely dispose of thermostats in your community. Visit online, keepmercuryfromrising.org for details. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. So I think yesterday I made reference to the ABC settlement with Stephanopoulos, and because he kept referring to Trump was found guilty of rape, in which he was not. A matter of fact, the jury went out of their way to stress to the judge that there was no rape. They still awarded money, but it had nothing to do with that. And Stephanopoulos has to pony up, I think it's $1 million of his own cash in this settlement, $15 million altogether from ABC. Trump's not pocketing that. He's going to put it into a future presidential foundation. But I hope, Ted?
Yeah, I thought he was going to donate it to the Harris campaign to pay off that $20 million debt.
I don't think so. And I would rather see it go to towards his library, which I don't think. Look, I don't think Biden's even going to get one. I said it last week. He's lucky. He's not going to get a library. He's lucky if he gets a bookmobile at this point. But look, the Democrats, the big donors are pissed. They were lied to. Their money was wasted. How do you spend $2 billion between her campaign, all the PACs and everything? We're looking at $2 billion. Anyway, I hope Trump continues to sue everybody that lied about him or perpetuated falsehoods. But there's also the criminal side of this, folks, because there was a ton of both ethical and criminal behavior. They lied to the FISA court about evidence to get the wiretap warrants, the surveillance warrants. And last week, the DOJ, Department of Justice's Inspector General, the IG, released a report on some of DOJ's tracking of communications from media and congressional figures as part of its purported investigation into who was leaking classified information against Donald Trump in 2017. 3 significant bombshells about the Russian collusion hoax were hidden inside the dense and dry 100-page report. But let's look into that. In December of 24, the Department of Justice, the Inspector General, released this report. It's scrutinizing DOJ's actions during Trump's first term, particularly in efforts to identify sources of leaked classified information. The report reveals that the DOJ secretly obtained communication records from members of Congress, congressional staffers, and journalists. They spied on these people. They spied on journalists. And everybody forgets what Barack Obama did to journalists with the spying. But this raises significant concern about the balance between national security and, of course, our civil liberties, folks. So here's some of the background. Following Trump's inauguration in 2017, a series of leaks involving classified information emerged. Many suggested improper connections between Trump's campaign and Russian officials. So in response, the DOJ initiated investigations to identify the leakers, employing subpoenas to access non-content communication records, such as metadata from individuals suspected of involvement. And metadata is all that data about everything you do electronically. Your pictures have metadata in it, which, guys, you send a picture, your latitude and longitude's in there, the time that you sent it. So if the FBI needs to drill down in that, they can find out right to the second minute, those are terms for latitude and longitude, where you were on the planet and what time of day you sent it. And there's other data in there. But anyway, as a matter of fact, printers, this is another thing a lot of people don't know, guys, that printers have embedded in when you print something out, buried in what you're printing is the information on the printer. Just say. Anyway, so this metadata was for individuals suspected in the involvement in this. So there are some key findings here, folks. Scope of data collection. See, the DOJ issued subpoenas for the communication records between 2 Democratic members of Congress and 43 congressional staffers. encompassing both Democrat and Republican aides. Additionally, records from journalists at major news outlets, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, and CNN, were obtained. And then the procedural lapses. The report highlights that the DOJ did not consistently adhere to its internal policies when seeking these records. Like everything else, there were no rules when it came to Donald Trump. The left and enemies of Trump, they wanted to suspend any constitutional muster here. They wanted to circumvent the norms of court or even the law itself. So are you surprised that the IG finds that these internal policies were not adhered to? Notably, it often bypassed the News Media Review Committee, and they are designed to provide oversight in cases involving the press. Remember, they're spying on journalists. They're spying on the press. And they failed to obtain the necessary approvals from non-disclosure orders. And then there's the lack of political motivation evidence. Despite the procedural shortcomings, the OIG found no evidence suggesting that the actions were politically motivated or intended as a retaliation. The career prosecutors involved appear to be driven by genuine desire to identify the sources of the leaks. And this whole talk about retribution, Trump doesn't need to do any. All he needs to do is just take any shackles or any of the thumb down that the Biden administration had, say, into investigators looking into Hunter's activities or his IRS not paying taxes. Just let the soldiers of these agencies do their normal job. There are enough crimes that were committed that nothing needs to be made up. Nobody has to lie to a court or a judge. Just let investigators be investigators. And then the impact on congressional oversight. See, the surveillance of congressional members and staffers, particularly without their knowledge, has been criticized for potentially hindering the legislative branch's ability to perform its oversight functions, effectively anyway. And such actions may also deter whistleblowers from coming forward, fearing surveillance or retribution to them. So the implication here in the reforms, the OIG's findings have prompted calls for reforms to ensure a better balance between national security interests and the protection of civil liberties, which Donald Trump's civil liberties have absolutely been trampled on time and time again. So some of the policy revisions, right, in response to this report, the DOJ has updated its policies to enhance oversight and establish clear guidelines for obtaining records from members of Congress as well as journalists. And these changes aim to prevent further overreach and protect the freedom of the press. And the press has been violated. Now, I guess one could argue that most of the people we're talking about aren't really press. They're DNC operatives with press credentials. But there's legislative actions here too. See, there's a growing advocacy for legislative measures to safeguard journalists and their sources from undue government surveillance. And you notice the theme with government overreach, government surveillance, bullying, and strong-arming publications and social media groups. Now, this emphasizes the need to uphold press freedoms, even amidst national security concerns. It's always been a balance, often answered in a court of law, by the way, right? Whether it's the New York Times or X or Meta, they know that they're going to have a significant amount of cost every year in defending their publications. Again, I've been talking about this for years, and I'll talk about it till it's changed, and that's Section 230. That came in the late 90s to protect this thing that no one really understood at the time called the internet, and they didn't want it dying in the crib. But we're far beyond that. And these companies have to decide if they're a platform or if they're a publication, and then act accordingly. So what's the conclusion here? Well, the OIG report sheds light on the complexities and challenges of DOJ faces in addressing the leaks of classified information while upholding constitutional protections. See, the documented procedural lapses, they underscore the necessity for stringent adherence to established policies and the implementation of reforms to prevent potential overreach. And as the DOJ moves forward, it must strive to maintain a delicate balance between ensuring national security and protecting the civil liberties that are foundational to American democracy. Remember, right? Save democracy. So that's where this is at. This report was bombshell. Notice things are starting to come out now just to confirm everything that we've kind of felt, things that we've talked about on this show, you, the listeners, have called in with. Other shows on this station, other shows out there in the country, in the world here. And my YouTube channel was taken off, wiped clean off, because they didn't like my position on vaccines, the pandemic, civil liberties, overreach, censorship. They took the president of the United States off of Twitter. Mark Zuckerberg kicked him off of Facebook. And he did. When they say you don't like our rules, make your own. He did. He started Truth Social. I think they went public, right? It's a fortune now. And I love the fact that Elon Musk, who borrowed $10 billion here and $5 billion there, when he was kind of put in a position that he had to buy Twitter, and bought it for $44 billion. It's now worth what, $60 billion? It's crazy, folks. He's now the richest man in the world, worth over $300 billion. But this is going to wrap up the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN every weekday afternoon at 1 o'clock, except for Fridays when the Carr Brothers come in for the Carr Brothers Show. But follow me on social media, Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. And I'll be back tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, Wednesday edition. All right, folks, that will wrap it up. Stay tuned. What's today? Tuesday. So Frankie Boyer is up next. Stay tuned for that. All kinds of great medical and health information. I end up running to the health food store every time I listen to her, man. All right, folks. Joe out. Have a good day, folks.